How do we show gratitude to our veterans? By embracing them, by hugging them, by expressing our appreciation to every veteran we meet, in all places and at all times. By teaching our children how much in their debt we always will be. We reflect on the notion of a world war. We ask, if the world can be at war, is it not possible for the world to be at peace?
The National Silver Cross Mother, Ms. Anita Senarini, is the mother of the late Private Thomas Welch. He was the first Canadian soldier to die by suicide after serving in Afghanistan.
Anita represents mothers who've lost loved ones to suicide as a result of battlefield wounds that we can't see. And I think all of us proudly stand with her to recognize that phenomena, that horrible phenomena, and honor them as well.
I'm amazed by what they did at such a young age, because they were all, basically just teenagers or a little older at the time to volunteer for their country.
I think it's important to go back, remember our values, remember what we've learned from the past, and moving forward, don't lose sight of what they fought for.
Learning from the past and moving forward is why Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and 60 other world leaders were brought together in France, where the Armistice was signed. The French president warned that the forces that drove countries to war a century ago are once again on the rise, while Trudeau had a warning of his own. The CBC's Tom Perry is in Paris.
100 years since the guns fell silent, world leaders came together in a show of unity.
10 millions de morts. 6 millions de blessés et mutilés.
French President Emmanuel Macron reminded his fellow leaders of the horrendous cost of war, and he warned of what he called old demons rising to the surface.
Car le patriotisme est l'exact contraire du nationalisme.
Nationalism is the opposite of patriotism, Macron said. When we say our interests first, who cares about the others? We erase what a nation holds dearest, its moral values. Macron's message was delivered in front of Donald Trump, a self-described nationalist and champion of America First. The U.S. president was listening just steps away, but if he was offended, it didn't show. And Macron was not alone in his warning.
If a democracy is to function, you need to have an educated populace and you need to have an informed populace.
Justin Trudeau spoke after today's ceremony at the Paris Peace Forum, organized to mark this 100-year anniversary. Trudeau called out those in power who attack the media, saying that can only weaken democracy.
When people feel their institutions can't protect them, they look for easy answers in populism, in nationalism, in closing borders, in shutting down trade, in xenophobia.
Trudeau didn't mention any politicians by name, but Russian President Vladimir Putin, who Trudeau sat next to at the Peace Forum, has been accused of using social media to foster confusion and influence elections. Trudeau never mentioned Donald Trump either, but the U.S. president routinely calls the media enemies of the people and has a habit of labeling any story he doesn't like fake news. Trump wasn't there to hear Trudeau anyways. He skipped the Peace Forum altogether. Tom Perry, CBC News, Paris.
And in the final hours before peace, Canada's soldiers had one last duty in the First World War: to capture the Belgian city of Mons. And they did it at great sacrifice. And today, a show of gratitude for that sacrifice. And the CBC's Nala Ayed was there.
Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile.
Take away the big screens, the modern clothes and cell phones. And at times in the city of Mons today, it could have been 100 years ago. That was the aim of the Royal Highlanders of Canada, also called the Black Watch, to recreate the regiment's march into Mons as liberators on November 11, 1918.
We just did the same route that this pipe band did 100 years ago, exactly the same route. We just took a band picture at the same place where our troops stayed 100 years ago. And the same band picture, if you'd like to see it, we've got it. So you put all that together, it can be nothing but emotional.
Lyle Davidson's grandfather, William, fought in the war and marched here too.
You wonder, like, he had memories that he shouldn't have had. And so, remember, you know, that's a big thing.
Preparations for this day have been years in the making. For visiting Canadians, too, like this high school history teacher from Lindsay, Ontario, who saved for 2 years to get here.
It's the beginning of our course. We start with World War I, in which teenagers like them, young men, young women coming over as nurses, we try to make it as personal and try to come up with how they would feel in those situations.
Here, too, Canadians marched in their predecessors' footsteps, in the same square, though they were deeply traumatized then and exhausted.
When we reached up the square and in the front of the town hall, it was packed with people cheering and singing and dancing.
The words of a Canadian soldier then, read by a Canadian soldier now. Today, too, the appreciation was on display. We don't speak enough of the Canadians who liberated this city, says Mons resident Elisabeth Gallet. Thank you, 1,000 times thank you.
Canada is a humble nation, and we stand with you in solidarity, vigilant that such dark days may never enter our homes, nor such shadows fall across our hearts ever again.
These are markedly different times. But then, as now, the peace is precious. Nala Ayed, CBC News, Mons, Belgium.